Welcome back. Now, President John Dramani Mahama is calling for the establishment of specialized fast-track courts to deal with cases of financial misappropriation in government. Speaking after the Ghana Bar Association paid a courtesy call on him, he expressed concerns that public funds are misused every year. He believes the specialized courts will support the constitutional procedures to hold individuals accountable in a timely manner.
We're committed to the protection of human rights and investigation of significant killings or murders that have remained uninvestigated. And so I've urged the police and the investigative organizations to look more actively in cases like Ahmed Swali, and that is how come a first suspect has been arrested. We're hoping that his interrogation will lead to further arrests of people. There are several other cases like the J.B. Dankwa murder case, and we're asking that it be expedited in terms of the prosecution that is taking place and for investigations to be carried out to find out if any other persons were involved in some of those. And so those are ongoing, and then we also have the issue I thought I should raise of the judiciary and the perception of the judiciary. I believe that it is not anecdotal. I mean, several surveys asking Ghanaians, what their opinion of the judiciary is have not come out positively. And I believe that it is a duty for all of us to work to make sure that we have a judiciary that is respected. Year in, year out, you hear 12 billion cedis misappropriated, 15 billion cedis misappropriated. And how we deal with these cases are very difficult because of the constitutional procedure, parliamentary accounts committee and all that. But after that has happened, we must have a fast-track court where we're able to deal with this so that we deter people from just misusing government funds like that. Government is open to working with you, particularly on our side of the political divide. There's this perception that we have a problem with the legal fraternity and things like that. I think that if you look at the kind of people, Marietta and all of us sitting here, we're not people who have any such animosity towards the judiciary and the legal fraternity. So our doors are open, our hands are open, and if you think that there's anything that you should bring to our attention, don't hesitate at all.
Well, let's put this in perspective. We've been joined by Adum Senanu, member, African Union Advisory Board on Corruption, and Nana Kofi Kantanka, who is a lawyer. And we're grateful for your time on News Desk. What's your initial reaction to what President John Mahama is saying? Mr. Senanu.
Thank you. And absolutely. Very delighted to hear the president make these comments for probably the last 2-3 years or so. Some of us have been emphatically stating that we needed specialized courts that deal with issues relating to corruption, especially because of how long it takes for us to get to a conclusion of any matters. And also there seemed to be a lack of expertise to facilitate these processes so that we can arrive at a conclusion where persons are held accountable, and then it serves as a deterrent. Because when you have many such cases concluded and individuals hauled before the courts, found guilty, sanctioned, monies retrieved, then it leaves the context where everybody knows that this is a high-risk venture to get into corruption. So I'm delighted. There are other African countries that already have specialized courts. I was recently in Kenya. They have at least 12 specialized courts for corruption-related issues. And I think that's the way to go if we're going to see much more improvement in the space.
Well, doesn't fast-tracking corruption cases, prioritize speed over thorough due process?
No, it simply means that you are, as it were, delegating resources intentionally to a space where you know that there are dividends that will return to the state. Don't forget that we're losing a minimum of $3 billion annually to corruption. That's $9 billion in 3 years. We went to the IMF for $3 billion to pay back in 3 years. In that 3 years, we would have lost $6 additional billion dollars. So it makes this value for this proposition. It makes a lot of sense to put that effort in, as it were, to stem the tide of monies being lost and at the same time retrieve things that are being lost. I don't see that it's speed. The processes will still be followed. It just means that you have a lot more people assigned. You have dedicated attention to the space, and that means you get good results in a timely manner.
Right. Let me bring in lawyer Kantanka. I mean, my last question to Adum Senanu. What do you make of that? Does it not fast-track cases such that it takes over due process and also undermines the right to maybe a fair trial?
No, so let me try and go over that. So what it is this.
Adum Senanu, please, I was asking lawyer Kantanka.
Sorry.
Yes. I'll come back to you. Mr. Kantanka, unmute and speak to us. Can we hear you now?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Indeed, yes, we can.
Yes. My initial comment on this issue. Well, first of all, let me greet our viewers and listeners this morning. My initial comment is that we setting up fast-track courts to deal with corruption cases. I think the current courts as we have now are able to deal with corruption cases because whatever be the case, still there will be the need for the courts to pass through the same procedure. The same procedure that will be followed. Because if you set up even a fast-track court as the the president is advocating for, still the criminal procedure will be followed. The criminal procedure will be followed. So there's no need for another fast-track court to deal with corruption cases. You see, the current structure of the court as we have now, if they want to deal with the case expeditiously, they will. I think you remember the Judicial questions case. Yes, the court made an order for the case to be tried each and every day. So the current court as we have now, if they want to deal with any corruption cases, they are capable of dealing with them as fast as they could by following due procedure. So we don't need to set up another court, populate the court with additional resources. And what do we want to achieve? It's the same justice. It's the same judges you put there. It's the same rules they'll be dealing with. I think what is incensing this or fueling this opinion is that maybe the previous cases, for instance, a case can be in court for almost 8 years and there will not be any judgment. You see, it's not about the court. Sometimes it's about the lawyers as well. A court will give a ruling and then the lawyers will go on appeal for interpretation. It will be at the Supreme Court for some time before it will come back. And when it comes back, the judge has been transferred. A new judge, should it be tried de novo? Should it continue? The judge will rule. Now let's go for interpretation. So it's not about we setting up courts which that will deal fast track. Let me put it in a way, fast track the cases. It will deal with rules. The lawyers are there. They will appeal, interlocutory appeal, whatever appeal.
Well,
so
Mr. Kantanka, can the judiciary, for want of a better expression, since it's going to be a fast track court, make it possible to fast track it without compromising on a fair trial and the processes that we go through to get those cases prosecuted?
Yes, fast track it how? By following due process. As I indicated earlier, the previous court, as in the Judicial questions case, the judge was sitting as a criminal court. The judge was able to sit on it and then determine that I will try this case each and every day.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So the current courts we have we have financial courts which deal with the there are criminal courts which can deal with similar cases. Can't there be a procedure that, maybe there's a corruption case, so the same application can be done by the Attorney General, that there's a corruption case, we need to fast track it. So maybe a everyday trial will be helpful. And I think the court can make an order for it to be tried every day.
Well,
aside the lawyers going to the Supreme Court to appeal for the case to be there for some time and then to come back, transfer of judges. These are, you see, the delay of cases in courts is multifaceted. Sometimes the administrative procedure of the courts, as I indicated earlier, the transfers is one. The lawyers, I don't understand. I don't agree with this ruling. I will appeal. It will come back. So it's not about the automatic fund. If you set up a fast track court to deal with it, and now in the course of the trial, the judge gives a ruling, and now the lawyer who is disadvantaged by the ruling wants to seek an interpretation at the Supreme Court. They haven't been given a date. How fast track it is? Right. It will still follow the same procedure.
Okay.
So maybe unless, of course, you want some particular verdict that we want, fine. But then it will be the same procedure, the same lawyers who challenge every decision.
So,
even with the fast track courts.
Okay. So, Mr. Senano, from this argument, do you still stand by the decision that there should be fast track court? Because from what he is saying, there's nothing really going to change with regards to procedures and rules that has to accompany the prosecution of corruption cases. So why can't the president use those resources to enhance the already existing courts to be able to prosecute corruption cases?
Thank you very much. I think Lawyer Safo Kantanka just makes a brilliant argument for what, if you went globally, they call specialized courts. It's best practice, and you will not have it in other jurisdictions if it doesn't work. The Jachikwe example is exactly what we are talking about, that you intentionally codify it such that you are having much more time spent on it. Particular people there, they are trained to do it. And rather than come back after a week, come back after 2 months, you get a result. So the fast track is not so much in taking away certain elements of the process. Due process will still be followed. So we are saying the same thing. When the president says establish, it doesn't necessarily mean in all cases that you have to create infrastructure.
So in this case, how is it fast tracked? In this particular instance, if there are new courts set up to look into these corruption cases, how will it be fast tracked?
Well, I was just pointing out to you that new courts, when he says you're going to establish, doesn't mean that you're going to create infrastructure and shift things around. It could be the same people, just that the rules are such that they are able to pay attention to particular cases. In this case, we are saying corruption cases, stick with it till they get the result. And so the framework for which you call these specialized courts exists in other jurisdictions. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And it's to the same result as he described in the Jachikwe case. So it's nothing new. It's been done elsewhere. It's effective. It's generating the results. And that's what we are all saying that it's a good idea. I think that the term fast track may be what leans to a certain interpretation that can confuse people. The important thing is that these specialized courts allow you to get the results in a much more efficient manner than if you said, go and come back after 2 months, we'll have the next hearing and what have you.
But I mean, when the president was speaking, aside efficiency, it's also timeliness to be able to do it quickly. So that is the key word here, so that they'll be able to move, in a speedy format. But in this case...
Yes, so that's what he explained. In the Jachikwe case, the judge sat night and day. It is even possible that there were some weekends added. It means that you have a dedicated attention. If you need to court before, what happens? You go, the hearing is today, they say next month. But if you have somebody who says every day, and indeed, the chief justices, I think in the current chief justice at some point, or the previous one as well, the rules of court procedure had been adjusted that said that certain cases, you continue to hear them at certain times, So arrangements can be made. And so Lawyer Safo Kantanka's point that you can even reorganize it within the administrative rules to make sure you get the result is a fantastic point. That's really where we are all coming from. That we are talking about specialized courts that actually apply themselves a lot more to the subject matter, rather than say, you come today, come back after a month or 2 months, because there are other types of cases that we are handling.
Right.
With that understanding, we are all talking about the same thing.
Well,
and I agree that the term fast track could confuse some people.
So,
Yes.
I mean, my last question to both of you, I mean, this is fast track high court, but then how do you ensure transparency? Others have argued that this is a way to, push some form of political tools of prosecuting people because they're coming from the opposition party. How do we ensure transparency in those processes to ensure that, justice is served for those who are held guilty in these courts?
I'll let the lawyer go first.
Mr. Kantaka, let's hear you briefly.
Yes. Okay, fine. But before I go to the question, to answer the question, let me clarify this. The name Fast Track High Court was invented at a point whereby the High Courts were not automated. Mm-hmm. So that Fast Track High Court that we had previously in the early 2000s was automated to deal with cases expeditiously. And now all the courts, almost all the courts in the court complex are automated. So we selling the Fast Track High Court to the public, as Senator indicated, it will send to some uninformed people that yes, the president is coming out with a court which will deal with cases faster. But the Fast Track High Court, the motive behind is for automation, and now almost all the courts are automated. So it's not to deal with cases faster, because the rules still will be there, and now all the courts are automated. So now, coming to your question as to the transparency, I think transparency is embedded in the procedure of the court, and sometimes the application, maybe Attorney General or any of the lawyers will send to the court in respect of televising the cases, having it live. Yes, so that's part of transparency, so that the public may have an experience of the arguments and the rulings of the court for everything. So that's part of the transparency. Right. If you put transparency in only the rules, maybe those who are not lawyers may not understand the rules, so they may have their own perception of justice. But then if you televise it live, any of the parties, the lawyers apply for it to be televised live, I think it will fall into the transparency bit that we are all seeking for. Oh, okay. Mr. Senano, your last words.
Yeah, I think that also it's important that the rules of procedure for these specialized court are rules that should not change, should not infringe or breach natural justice. They are rules that everybody should agree to. In my head, the one thing that is likely to change is just like in the Judge Chikwueze case, the judge is sitting continuously. And so it moves in a more timely manner. And that's the part of the challenge we have, that they don't sit continuously. They'll sit this week, and then they wait another 4 weeks or 8 weeks or a quarter before they come back. So if the rules are such that it is done continuously, then you can dispatch and discharge of these cases in a more efficient manner. And that's what allows that timeliness that the president is trying to achieve. Important thing is that the rules should still meet all the standards expected to ensure a fair trial, so that individuals are not unduly, affected negatively by the specialized courts.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Let me clarify this bit.
Okay, quickly.
Yes, maybe the perception out there will be that the president is about to set up a fast-track court. The president does not set up courts. Setting up a division of the court is the work of the Chief Justice, is the administrative function of the Chief Justice. So it shouldn't be that President Mahama is come to set up fast-track courts. No, is that he will have to liaise with the
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're grateful for your time here on News Desk. Now, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has filed a new lawsuit demanding that the Office of the Special Prosecutor removes all wanted notices about him from its social media archives. This is the second suit, followed by an earlier one filed 2 weeks ago, in which the embattled former Finance Minister told that the OSP overstepped its statutory powers by using a media briefing to make such declarations, violating its fundamental human rights and breaching Ghana's constitutional provisions. Now, joining me now is Elton Brobe with more on this. Elton, what more are we learning? Do you have Elton on the line? And before we went for that break, we told you former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta had filed a second suit demanding that the Office of the Special Prosecutor removes all wanted notices about him from its social media archives. And join us now is Elton Brobe with the latest from that suit. Elton, what more can you report on that particular suit?
It has been filed in court, makes some specific demands on the courts or the judge that will be presiding on this matter. One is an order of interlocutory injunction restraining the respondent, that's the special prosecutor, from continued breach of their administrative justice obligation in maintaining the applicant's photograph and details on the respondent's special Facebook page and any other virtual and physical platforms of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, contrary to the legitimate expectation the respondent have created in their letter dated 18 February 2025, in which the OSP makes the point that Mr. Ofori-Atta, as a wanted person, has been delisted on the OSP's website, but same cannot be said of the social media hand. They are also demanding an order of interlocutory injunction restraining the respondents from entering the applicant's name as a wanted person or declaring the applicant a fugitive from justice without leave of court pending the final determination of the suit. Remember, the OSP has warned Mr. Ofori-Atta to appear before it on June 2nd. Failure to do so, the OSP will go ahead to declare him wanted and fugitive from justice. That's June 2nd date is yet to materialize. The lawyer for Mr. Ofori-Atta is again seeking an order of interlocutory injunction pending the final determination of this suit against the respondent, repeating the unlawful manner of declaring the applicant a fugitive from justice by media briefing, and then a mandatory order directing the respondent to remove the wanted notice of the applicant from the official Facebook page and any other virtual or physical platform of the Office of the Special Prosecutor as demanded by administrative justice obligation of the respondent. And finally, mandation an order of interlocutory injunction pending the final determination of this suit against the respondent, restraining them from carrying out their threats in the press release of 18 February 2025 of re-entering the applicant's name as a wanted person if the first entry was lawful. And this, we are told, has been served on the Office of the Special Prosecutor pending the movement of it in court.
But do we know if they've received it, the Office of the Special Prosecutor?
In fact, this morning when I checked, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been served, so they are aware of this suit. And this is the second suit that has been filed against the operations of the Special Prosecutor by Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The first one relates to alleged violations of his fundamental human rights by the publication of the wanted person status on him by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And this one is asking that even though the Special Prosecutor has taken steps to delist Mr. Ofori-Atta's name on the list of wanted persons on this official website, the name and the story about him being wanted is still, available on the Facebook X page, and other social media handles of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Now demanded that they go into their archives and remove those as well. Amazing.
All right. Thank you so much, Elton, with that report. Now, it's almost 24 hours since victims of the recent Adum fire rejected a donation of 1,500 bags of rice, along with 800 boxes of cooking oil and soap provided by Interior Minister and Member of Parliament for Asawase, Muntaka Mubarak. We'll get updates in a minute, but first, let's recount what transpired. Well, we go to Kumasi now and speak with Nanaya Adum to get updates of what's happening at Adum. Nana, what's happening now? I'm seeing on my screens people standing wearing black and white. What's happening? Are these traders?
Right, so Mami say we are live at Adum, the PZ Arena, where fire engulfed 4 days ago. That's last week Friday, and you can see in your shot some of the affected traders who are still here at the scene, looking into the area that was engulfed by fire as officials. But I can see an excavator in there that is supposed to create a pathway for emergency cases. Yesterday, the Interior Minister, the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, led by the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohinim, and other NADMO executives came in here to inspect the scene and also to sympathize with the affected traders. When the minister came in, he came not just to sympathize with them, but also to make a contribution or a donation. He gave out 1,500 bags of rice and 800 boxes of oil and soap to the traders. After the donation was made by the Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak, the traders, some of the affected traders, started to hoot at him and boo him, rejecting the donation that was made by the Interior Minister and then the NADMO executives, and that led to the officials moving away or moving the trucks that were full of these items out of the scene. Now we want to pan out the camera a little bit. This is where the trucks were, the 3 big trucks that had the items were parked over here, and clearly back here is where we had the trucks parked, and it was right here that the Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak asked the officials to open the trucks. When they opened the trucks, on my right is where the affected traders were standing, and when they got to see what was inside the trucks, the bags of rice, the boxes of oil and soap, they started chanting Yempemo, to it, we do not like rice, and that led to the minister directing that the officials drive out the truck and move it out of here. Now, the major concerns of the traders are that they want the Ashanti Regional Minister, the Asantehene, to give them back the land. The land in question is the PZ land where they were making sales. The fire engulfed last week Friday. Now, because the officials are in with the excavator clearing the area, they cannot go in there to make sales, and that has become a worry to them. They want them to hand over the land so that they can go back to make sale, but that determination lies solely with the Asantehene Otumfuo to the second, who would have to either say that they have to get back to the land and make sales or not. I have one gentleman here with me. Adam, you sure say no na wa who dey course nyina obetimi aka ho asem kakrache wa ankasa dey odi wani hu ye. Ebra minister ne ba ye no. Oh, ebra mo ba ye ne dey. Ono minister no di ka akora ba ene nukure nyame ne ebra Janesian Cosina more than 4 times. Ashanti Regional Minister. I know there, yes, I know there, appreciate it, I know, yeah. But, and Yamana, yeah, Yahrewahano, baby, a Kumane Kono, Mini say a Biania say Bejemo Niawa. And I didn't come be a situation, and yes, be a more minister now, baby, not move. And I did one more Biane, a betre. Say, I'm beautiful area, you follow them up, Emra. Officers mess on no Munchedian in my Major me by university, the particles in Kutami. Me Pequia me faso many bibia ye, Namadi Abuame Banu school. Was I confirm more kilo and then was a memeji. But me momedia, me Susan Monadi, who yam some bejemo. As I send the S ramping for say, Omomoye, Nayania, Yentimi, and Bodi Adeno, because you won't be paying. You said Nana Sawa could be market away. See, a nipa will be a man, no more saya kototo. Baku for the do a noom, no more to tomb. The Koreas not across what you have found. Yenya, there be a hawkers a good street enough. Yen has come on my say, be a moment, son, Amunya Juma. Next and Kayan, what toy kakra. By your baby, Omo Sano, Omupa Momun Singer, politicians no more Bejimuno. Omuye, Yam, but some Omon Crawford. Me one upon where be or Tidada, but Obama was our tomb. Na je no na de say de mu hia ye say de asase no se ne be maye na ya ni omo plan krom pese omo si no ye sre omo so omo fa nkire say ye pese say ne ye area ha no go area ma mu nsi bibi nko ho na emo no mo mpe emo ya mpe mo because emo de me obi amakoma tie me bedi mu ama makoma na survive na say de enya mu sem kra ye po mo chew de kra since week ni aduane kra fense aduane kra mi ni bi it's no the mobile. Debbie, my common me who are the friends of community. And you have been some crime, Madame Dame. Because your mother was a come dear baby. And a mukilo, Media, me couldn't say. Anybody, Juma, and I will say one.
na de mo bem di mu ni wie ne nesa e de be biem na me ye e ti esra mo ye panimfo no a eno kre ama as omo yade omo ma ye ne ahafo ne yensan kan ye dia no eno ne ye yi a wa ye di se ko ye wani da so omo ye no mbeka se o ye wie wo a bia wo die no beji a any problem, but so what
he is saying is that yesterday he was at the scene when the interior minister came in, when they brought the rice and other items. What he's trying to say is that now they want the land to be given back to them so that they can go by to make their sales. They don't want rice, they don't want oil, they don't want soap. What they need clearly now is the land so that they can go back to make sales. This gentleman was also here, witnessed everything yesterday. Enra de na odu eni hu ye wo bra minister ne bae.
First of all, it is a rade say uncle Poma boy who buy my at party and a young quache. And run the your word I did got critters bear me and abba be drew the sea. I didn't the abc. It will be a rice and oil on provisions. Yantias because you were any brim. Now say be all the more a bread say in the dia. There be and then I don't know say and say. Because you need penyabre, you know much everything. Abrent, mobile crab, cassim, crab, my area. It's not rice. It's not like say be out the rice, nay, or your name, a bray. But just what I say. Because I say, me, we say, maybe we are secondary school, make up me quiet and my man to us, and I'm saying I have to do business. So I've started something small, say, I'll bring to look at my family and my day. Now, Obua, my sister, Maraga, Crassa, my in fact, me bomb family Kakra. Now, all the certain everything is all time. Now, the money I want, bread me out. I say, it doesn't show respect Kakra. Because every beer, it's your strong.
Kasa in particular, no, how much have you lost from this incident?
Okay, I would like to say I'm having two shops. One is fabrics, one is boutique. So I started with 700 million, one shop. So I bought the shop one and 350 million. So I started 400 million with a business. So after that, gradually small, I just went to another shop. So I started that one 300 million. So here and I've lost, I want 1.something billion that I've lost everything.
And you think that in wake of all that you've lost, you don't need rice, you don't need oil. What do you need?
Rice in the day, we don't need rice and anything. Actually, we need a solution that will get our guests back so that we start our small business and everything. That's what we need. We don't need any rice here. We don't need anything. Because God provide everything for us. Because after in the morning everything, God provide our food. So if you don't work hard, how will you get food to eat? Because going and going back and transport and nutrition, your money will get finished. All your savings and everything will get finished. Right? So please, there are plenty of them say you should come and help us, money or everything, so that we will start small business. Everything now will get lost.
Thank you very much. And that's another affected trader who says that he doesn't need the rice, he doesn't need the oil, he doesn't need the soap. What he needs right now is that they need financial support. They need to get assistance so that they can build back the structures that have been burnt. So you can see all these traders who are in here. They are affected traders, and they are all here to look at what is going to happen to the land that they are in need of right now. And this is what you can see. A truck is in there, an excavator is in there, making sure that it creates a pathway for future emergency cases, just as indicated by the Ashanti Regional Minister. And also on my left are some affected traders who are also here. And so today is full of sorrow for these traders who have been affected by the fire. Over to you, Mamiesi.
Tanaya Buachi Jima there giving us updates from Adum where the fire, destroyed many shops over there. We'll get updates from the regional minister as well as, the interior minister on what sufficed there yesterday. Well, moving on, President Mahama is expected to assent the bill repealing the E-Levy and other crucial taxes. Parliament abolished the bills on Wednesday, ending 2 years of fierce debate. Now, Deputy Minister of Finance Thomas Ampemnyako says President Mahama will receive the new bill today for his assent.
We are still in Parliament working on the tax bill, so hopefully by tomorrow I expect it to be at the presidency. As soon as the president receives it, I believe that he would sign it immediately. And once the president signs it, the GRA will have to cease the collection of E-Levy. And so we are looking at just a couple of days.
She fought through the agony of breast cancer 2 years ago, hoping for a fresh start. But just as life seemed normal again, another cruel battle began. 30-year-old midwife Yairam Ibrahim Mahama is now fighting for her life against brain cancer. She needs 300,000 Ghana cedis for life-saving treatment. Irama Akwa visited her home and reports.
She has spent her life caring for others, bringing life into the world. But today, Mariama Yairam Ibrahim, a midwife, fights for her own survival. A battle against a disease that has drained her strength, her finances, and her hope.
Midwifery, I can't tell, but it has just been there for a very long time. So I didn't have any specific reason as a child by then. But when I grew, I realized I just wanted to do it. It's a noble profession. I was actually at work when it came, and at our place too, we don't have network, so you have to go to a network area to check. So I was actually anxious whilst I was even trying to download it. When it came, when I was able to download and I saw it, I was like, really? So I have to go and recheck, go back to my books that malignant and benign. Benign is the one which is not cancerous. Malignant is so. I was like, oh, am I the one confused? Because that was not what I was expecting. So I told myself that I have to eat and take good care of myself. If they say this, I shouldn't let it weigh me down. I took food and I started eating. I took the first one. That was when tears started rolling in my face.
That was 2 years ago. A breast cancer diagnosis that would lead her through a maze of chemotherapy, surgery, and endless pain. But just when she thought the worst was behind her,
if I can't raise my arm too, he was thinking it was a nerve-related problem. But because I can't raise the arm on the same side, then it will be brain-related. So I should rather do a head CT scan. So and I told him that this is what has happened, but actually I was supposed to come and do a radiotherapy for the breast. And he said, oh, okay. So what is happening now is that it has spread to my brain. That was when I started crying. The first one, all those times, I didn't cry like that. But for that one, I cried, and he introduced the clinical psychologist to counsel me and all that.
the chemotherapy was brutal. It stole her hair, her strength, her independence. The nausea, the excruciating pain, the darkened nails. She endured it all. But the hardest part was not the physical suffering.
For the breast cancer treatment, we went through a lot. But because it was every 3 weeks, at least by the time the month will end, your salary will come, your family will also support you in a way. Finances at this point, I don't know what to say. Because right now, with this treatment, that's the only problem we have.
£20,000. That's what stands between Mariama and a fighting chance.
My sister is somebody who likes helping others, and she wants to go back to her work. At times when we go to the hospital and she see others wearing the uniform, she will just call me, sister. Hey, so I was also like this. I want to come back and save life. Please help us, Ghanaian. Help us with your donation. We want to save our sister's life. She just started, she's just 30 years. She's too young for this. Please, Ghanaian, we are pleading with you. Help us.
At all. This is not me. My face is not like this. This is all from the chemotherapy. And it's even changed my skin complexion. First it's peeled off and became yellow. It's now coming back a little because I've been off treatment for quite some time. I'm bloated. I had sores on my body that I have to treat. A lot of things were just coming in. My vision too is disturbed. I forget things easily. I can be holding something and it falls from my hand. So I just want to plead with anybody that God will touch their hearts. We can afford.
Mariama clings to hope, but with each passing day, it slips further from her grasp. She waits, but time will not wait for her. For Joy News, Grace Aqua.
Very sad story there, but right about now, we're going into business. Daryl, what's the latest in business?
My mood just switched after watching that story. You're watching this morning, you can support. I think you should help. The numbers are still on the screen, I believe.
Yeah. Such a sad story.
Very sad. So please, she needs help. If you can support, the number on the screen, just send something, and I'm sure you'll be blessed.
Yes, business starts now.
And thanks for staying with us, everyone. Time for business. And Fidelity Bank says it will analyze and take a decision on the declining interest rates on treasury bills to ensure that customers are not impacted negatively. According to the bank, this could also result in growing its loan books to drive the growth of businesses. Managing Director of Fidelity Bank, Julian Opuni, gave the hint in an interview with journalists after a short media engagement in Accra.
Interest on Treasury bill has seen a significant decline since the beginning of the year due to some government actions and reduced appetite for borrowing. The meeting between Fidelity Bank and the media aimed to enhance their existing relationship as partners in national development. Speaking to journalists after a short address, Managing Director of Fidelity Bank, Julian Opuni, hinted that the bank will analyze the trend in the declining rate of interest on the Treasury market to avoid any negative impact on customers.
There's always, at the end of the day, the ability to do loans or drive risk assets. It doesn't happen overnight. You grow it over a period of time. So it's very early days with regards to the drop. Yes, the drop happens, and internally you do your analysis to ensure that it doesn't have a negative impact on both your operations and on your customers. And then you start replanning on how you can actually diversify if it's based on a sustainable position.
He has also been speaking about moves to get closer to more unbanked communities to expand the country's financial landscape.
Doorstep of our customers and potential customers is actually more around enhancing the ability for people to improve self-help and the ability to get access to their finances in a seamless and meet them in as many places as possible. We are hoping very shortly also to start driving more innovation about driving access to finance within the Ghanaian market in as innovative a way as we're known to do as a bank.
The bank aims to engage more partners to support micro, small and medium businesses across the country.
Now, the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, the Jospon Group and GIZ have formalized a strategic partnership to boost skills development in waste management and sanitation sector. Here's more in this report.
The groundbreaking collaboration seeks to bridge the gap between academic instruction and practical application by introducing a robust workplace experimental learning program for learners and facilitators under the GTVETS. Through this partnership, technical schools will gain access to cutting-edge equipment and industry-grade technology, enabling hands-on learning environment that mirrors real-world workspaces.
Government institutions responsible for TVET and the private sector, because it is the private sector that in the end absorbs the learners that are coming from the TVET institutions. So GIZ facilitated the partnership between the Commission for TVET.
The initiative is poised to not only enrich the learning experience workplace, but also ensure the TVET graduates are job-ready and aligned with the evolving demands of Ghana's labor market.
Workplace experience learning. We don't only offer them learning, we also go a long way to also support them in terms of giving them some lunch. Some of them are also in other places where they are also being taken care of.
CTVET will oversee the accreditation process to guarantee high standards in training delivery and learner assessment.
It is very important to establish what everyone is taking out of this partnership. And as you are all aware, the TVET service is an establishment of an act of this republic at 1049 that provide that it is only the service that provides technical skills training.
The Pact for Skill Support to the Transformation of TVET System in Ghana project is co-funded by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and the European Union and implemented by the German Corporation for International Cooperation.
All right, and that's business. We're taking a short break. We have plenty more news after the break.
Welcome back to News Desk. Now, Salaga in the Savannah region was a key site in a transatlantic slave trade. Countless natives were captured and sold. In the 17th century, it became a place of unimaginable pain, separation and loss. As part of our Ghana Man series, we revisit the market's painful legacy and its lasting impact on Ghana's identity. Nanabachi Adum reports.
Oh, freedom. From the 16th century, Salaga was one of the leading market centers in West Africa. Salaga was founded in the 16th century Gonja Kingdom before being overrun by Ashanti forces in 1744. The British defeat of the Ashantis during the Third Anglo-Ashanti War in 1874 ended the Ashanti rule over Salaga. However, the British abolition of slavery in the Gold Coast in 1874 to 1875 did not end the Salaga slave market practices in the Gold Coast. Today, the remains of the Salaga slave market stands as a memory to those who suffered here. The slave trade may have ended, but its remnants are still felt. I met Ibrahim Jamal, the cultural officer at the Salaga slave market. He explains the history of the slave market.
Slaves here abroad from Upper East, Upper West, and then the surrounding villages, led by the slave agents who were the Hausa and then the Zabarma people. One thing about the Salaga slave market is that the Europeans have never been here. It's only when they get to Cape Coast, then they are sold to the Europeans.
Ibrahim Jama explains the suffering of slaves through their slave masters.
For the slave agents, they don't care. Yes, they don't care what you are going through. The only one, at the end of the day, the strong ones. So when you are weak and then they realize you are dying, the chain will leave you in the bush, you die, animal feed will come and then feed on your flesh. Yes, and they are fed once in a day. When bringing them, they have little water to drink them before arriving. If you are stubborn slaves, they shackle you with this on your legs. So when we were at the market, we see something of that sort. They are shackled on the leg and then hooked it to a tree. So when you are shackled or you are chained like that, you remain there.
The eve of European colonization, which eventually brought to the end of internal slave trade, really came as good news to the people. For Joy News, my name is Nana Adum.
And that's how we wrap up News Desk here on Joy. And with more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com.